I'll call this meeting to order this morning. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please silence all your cell phones. Take a moment of silent prayer. I'll begin the roll call this morning with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Jeff Culberson's here. Commissioner Doug Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Stevens.
Here.
Commissioner Vicki Cott.
Here.
All present accounted for. Public comment. I have one signed up for public comment. Lewis Clint. Morning, Louis.
Started yet now.
I always give you just a little buffer because I know you like to go on.
Ready, set.
That was ridiculous. Lewis Clint, 1816 Pine Ridge Drive. We used to do it 5 minutes, and before that it was indefinite. It was after a while you'd say, well, you know, you've talked pretty a long time. We appreciate your inputs. But now the school boards, the city, county, state, they're all screwed up. Okay, the first thing is county attorney discusses budget with commissioners. I don't know if you remember how long ago it was, 2, 3, 4 years. Sheriff came and said, you're not going to tell us what to do with our budget. We're elected officials, and we'll do whatever we want to do. So they ought to get rid of their private attorney, both of them. That cuts the budget a little bit. 10 best places to live in Kansas. Oh my God, Leavenworth's not here. Basel, Tonganoxie, Easton. No, none of them are here. Isn't that great? That's really great. We're really doing a heck of a good job. Okay, I got a guy to call in Michael's company. I was there when they signed the contract. Those are the people up at Fort Leavenworth that are going to condemn all the buildings and tear them down. 89 historic buildings and 185 historic buildings. Going to tear them all down because Michael's has been violating their contract. They were supposed to keep all the buildings upgraded. They didn't do it. That's called capitalism because they don't care about the antique houses. It was real interesting because it said, the Army ghost town facing demolition. Kansans outraged as 185 historic mansions at Fort Leavenworth are set to be razed. What's the county doing about that? They ought to be doing something, sending out an input. The state ought to be sending out an input. The cities ought to be, school boards, everybody. They're tearing down the history. I thought it was interesting on the 85 that are being torn down. Nobody seems to care. Well, that's nice, and nobody seems to care about the history. They're tearing down Leavenworth. That's Leavenworth County, believe it or not. And I think that you individuals, we elect people that we think are good people, and they are. I'm going to tell you one thing you don't have. God bless your hearts. You don't have depth. You know what depth is? What do you think about Vietnam? You got any ideas on Vietnam? How about Korea? You got any ideas on Korea? No, you don't, because you weren't brought up in those times. There are a lot of things out there that depth brings in that you really needed to be participating somehow with history. History will bring in depth. But if we don't save Fort Leavenworth, then I don't know what's going to happen, because there's some local people that live up there, and they're renting all their houses. This company owns 16 companies around the United States, one in California, one in Kansas, one in Missouri, one in New Jersey, and their contracts, as far as I know, you ever tried to get a contract from the federal government? And their contracts, their contracts are hidden, but they were supposed to take care of the buildings that they wanted to tear down now. That's a total shame. I thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clint. Anybody else have public comment in the room? Don't have anybody else signed up. We'll move on to administrative business. Mr. Lothar, do you have anything this morning for us?
Just one thing real quickly. A few weeks back, the commission approved the payment to Baser for 155th Street project, and yesterday Maddie from the city of Baser came up and picked up that check, and I just want to let you guys know that our portion of that is now taken care of.
Very good. Anybody else have administrative business this morning?
I don't. I got a few things. I don't want to take up too much time.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners Mike Smith and myself can give a brief summary on the conference we went to last week, next week, for the sake of time. This morning I seen on the news that the Biden administration is authorizing or saying overtime has to be paid for salaried workers now. Is that just the federal government, or is that going to be all? Or is that too early to tell?
It's too early to tell, Commissioner. The Fair Labor Standards Act does apply to governmental entities and virtually all employers. I'm not certain what they have changed with respect to the threshold requirements. There will be some regulations forthcoming. At that point, we'll need to look at how we handle our own personnel.
Okay. And then we've got County Road 25 closed right now, and I think the detour, one of the roads, Hemphill, there's some people on there that have paid for chemical dust control, and that's going to be applied here probably May or June. By the end of that project, I'm pretty sure their dust control is not going to survive that much traffic. I was wondering if the county could go ahead and reshoot their dust control. I mean, we do it in-house. I'm sure we just use our own chemical at the end of the project for them folks.
Sounds reasonable to me because it's a mess out there. They're driving a lot of cars.
Right. So
That's not something that we would typically do, but definitely if the commission as a policy would like to have us do that, that's something I can ask.
well,
our
we
staff
redid the
to follow.
asphalt one on George Road for them folks. And these aren't asphalt; these are just the magnesium chloride. But there's no way the chemical's going to last with that much traffic on it, and it's going to be all till August, I believe, the project goes to. So.
Are you suggesting wait till the end of the project and then resurface it? Or
Well, I don't know. I guess we'd need to monitor and see if it only lasted, 60 days or 45 days. We might. I just think, being as we made it an official detour, and these folks pay for dust control.
Mm-hmm.
I've been getting phone calls on this as far as speed limit signs, and I've had to reflect to them the difficulty of putting and changing speed limit signs.
Traffic study. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just putting it out there that it is not and we don't have Bill here, or I'd have him explain the whole thing, but it is not a process that can be expedited, and it is not an inexpensive process.
Right. And then the traffic count's going to be skewed because of the detour.
Yeah.
And
So we would like to just throw a traffic sign up, but that's not according to the law.
Yeah,
It's not an advisory, it's a regulatory.
Yeah, without an expensive engineering study, we can't just put a sign up.
While we'd like to do, these are things we'd like to do, but we can't.
Correct.
And, Mr. Chairman, I have just one more thing, and that's just for information only, that maybe I can get some information. Yesterday, Mid-America Regional Council passed the incorporation of areas within Baser and Tonganoxie in the urban areas. And so I guess, I know we just talked about this with Mr. Knoll, that is officially passed the Mid-America Regional Council. So does this mean that to get projects funded in these areas, which we have county roads, are we going to have to go through Mid-America Regional Council and check the 14 boxes that is impossible for us to check to get funding?
Well, not for the city roads.
But we have, no, it's not city roads. It didn't, the circle has got county roads.
Oh.
If you remember, Commissioners, when this came up with Baser, the city had reached out to us, and we worked back and forth with them to limit the amount of area that Mid-America Regional Council finally identified as that urban growth area, which is important, not necessarily, it's more important for the city than us, obviously, but what it impacts is the Federal Highway Administration on what who the governing body is on those, I guess. So right now we go and we apply directly to KDOT for grants on county roads. The ones that fall within these urban growth areas are then supposed to go through Mid-America Regional Council, which we have not had a lot of success getting funds for.
Yeah.
So Baser worked really hard to get it limited on theirs. I know the original Mid-America Regional Council included almost from the south end of the county clear up to Fairmount, but they worked very hard to get it limited to only what had to be done. And these are, it's based on census population, and when you hit a certain designation where you are forecasted to, it has to happen. That it's not a choice. Tonganoxie adopted this, and we had no input or discussion, and weren't even aware that they were going to be included until after they had adopted it. So I'm not sure on theirs. I know on the ones in Baser, it was indicated that those roads in that area would then have to, would more than likely have to be applied through Mid-America Regional Council. But at the end of the day, it's a KDOT issue, and they would be the ones who would direct us if we tried to go through grant funding. But yes, if we have to go to Mid-America Regional Council, we have to do the smart streets. We have to check those boxes.
Possible for us to do.
So are you saying that KDOT will be the body that will decide whether we can continue to apply for grants within those areas?
We will have to ask KDOT, and they will let us know one way or the other on those. Originally, Mid-America Regional Council said, oh, no, it's not going to impact anything. And then they said, well, yes, in the Baser area it will. And then on the Tonganoxie one, they said, well, not necessarily. So now that it's official, we can, I can ask Bill to maybe reach out to our district engineer and see if he has any indication on what that means for those roads.
I think we should get something in writing from them, if possible.
Commissioner Cos, you have something?
Yeah, and so is it a requirement that it has to, or is it a preference that it goes through Mid-America Regional Council? I mean, is there some
Well,
law
federal
or
funds
statute?
federal funds for this area run through Mid-America Regional.
Okay, that's what I was. So
that
that's
is
federal.
yeah,
Okay.
that is required. The state, I'm not 100% on, so we'll have to find out.
Okay.
That's a good point.
That's all I
That's a good
had.
point.
Again, we get a
more bigger summary next week on everything that went on at the Mid-America Regional Council also.
Again, we get a short ladder to reach something on a tall roof.
Yep.
Any more administrative business?
I just have a question for you. Where are we at on that Jefferson County?
Non-sanctuary
Right.
county, yeah. We're definitely working that up because especially since Mayor Lucas filed what he filed, I think
you did, didn't
it's
you?
important that we do something like that. I've got Mr. Van Peer some of the information. Commissioner Walbridge is sending me the actual resolution. He was out of town last week, so he's back now. So as soon as I get that,
I
we'll
think
put
we should
something
move
together.
ahead as quickly as possible.
Yeah, we should be able to have it by next week, ready to go. Yep, I agree. And for people not knowing what we're talking about, Jefferson County passed a non-sanctuary county resolution, and Leavenworth is looking at doing the same thing, especially in light of Mayor Lucas passing a sanctuary city resolution for the Kansas City. So it might be at our doorstep quicker than we think.
And he does not speak for the entire metro area.
No,
Don't
just
think
the
there's some
ones that
happy people there.
No,
Show
Platte
up.
County, Jackson, or Platte County.
Any more administrative business? If not, we can move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Motion and a second for the consent agenda. Any more discussion? Nothing needs to be removed. Begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 Consent agenda passes. Formal board action. Motion to certify the City of Basehor 458 mail-in ballots.
You guys
ready
will
for
need to convene as
Go
make a
ahead.
motion to go into the Board of Canvassers.
Okay.
I'll entertain a
Mr.
motion.
Chairman, I move that we adjourn as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Board of County Canvassers.
Second.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 We are now Board of Canvassers.
On April 18th was the final day for USD 458 Basehor-Linwood School District's bond election. The county clerk's office sent out 11,096 ballots. We had 4,904 returned, which amounts to a little over between a 44 and a 45% turnout. This election passed with yes at 2701, no at 2201. So there was an exact 500 count difference there.
Wow.
With the mail ballot election, we do not have any provisionals that we need to discuss today. So this is the final tally that will take place for that mail ballot election that they held. So I would just need you guys as the Board of Canvassers then to certify the USD 458 mail ballot bond election.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When they send in their ballot, and it's been a while since I've participated in a mail ballot, but do you sign the outside of the ballot envelope and then those signatures are verified by your office?
That is correct. Each one of the ballots must be signed by the voter. If they're not, that invalidates the vote on that. We do reach out to any ballot that we receive that does not have a signature on it so that that voter has the opportunity to come in and sign the ballot. We probably had 10 or 12 that came in without a signature, and those folks were given the opportunity. So as we are checking in each one of the ballots, they're scanned into the system. That signature, Commissioner Stephen, automatically pops up on our screen. So not only are we looking at the ballot envelope that has the signature, we're also comparing that to the screen where their original signature popped up for us to validate the signature.
So all the signatures are validated?
Mm-hmm. They are validated. We do take into account, the health of the individual, but most of the time you can see similarities even if someone has gotten older or failed in their health, to be able to recognize that signature.
Is there any? That's a good question, and not to down it, but when you talk about similarities, is there any train or anything, or is it just y'all taking a look at it at one point, or is there anything you do to see that the T or the I or the curves or anything? Even though I know it changes with age, I'm an example, but I'm just wondering if there's anything that y'all do to make sure it's performed.
Well, I'm glad that you asked that, because even last year we have mandatory training through the Secretary of State's office. And last year in our training, there were 2 different people that came in and talked to us, gave examples of a 2-hour class on signature verification. So there is absolutely a training and learning involved in verifying the signatures.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you for asking, Mike, because that is very important.
Thank you.
So when the presidential election is coming up and people mail in their ballot, all of those signatures will be validated?
They are, each one of them.
That's great.
Which, after you certify this, I might mention a couple of dates in the future that I would like to recognize when it comes to our August and November elections.
And you do demonstrations that are open to the public prior to the election that people are welcome to come and.
That's right, and especially this year, I will actually open it up to the public when I do my testing. Now, they will not be able to be right next to the machines as we are, but just to see the tremendous effort and the different ballots that we run through those machines and then produce a tape off of each one of them to show that those results are tested and verified per the ballots. We actually run two different test decks through. We run a test deck through that we vote randomly, for individuals, and we run a test deck through that is supplied to us by our election system and software.
And you're confident that our elections in Leavenworth County are secure?
I'm very confident. I have the utmost confidence. And I know that this year there was even legislation looked at that it was proposed that instead of running ballots through a machine for a count that are not hooked up to the internet or anything like that, that they were going to be hand counted. Well, first of all, it's been proven there's a lot more degree of errors that take place when something is hand counted versus a machine that we methodically test. The other thing is, and I have been through a lot of elections where we hand counted, but now it's like, when are the results coming out? When are the results coming out? It just gets earlier and earlier each year that the folks in the community want to see the results. If we went back to hand counting, it would be hours upon hours.
Days.
I remember back I'm dating myself. It was like back in the 80s. It was a presidential election, and we were literally up. I think I left the office at 8 o'clock the following morning after going through the counting process, because at that point we did not. And so there will not be any fast results. Now, of course, that legislative talk did not go anywhere. But each year it does seem that it is brought up because, Mike, just as you said, the security of the elections. And I am very confident. And I appreciate the confidence that the Board of County Commissioners have in me, and even the questions that you ask me. You have participated sometimes in watching the audits that we have after the election, that our results have been 100%. So, yes, I am confident. And I'm confident in this year.
Yeah. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If the entire country did their elections like Leavenworth County did, we wouldn't have any issues. I mean, seeing this process over the last 40 years,
I agree,
evolve, and even from the hand counts to the machines, still the way Leavenworth County does it. I mean, there's some places that don't even require ID to vote. It's insane to me the way some of these other places do their elections.
Just emphasize that, and there's not internet connected to our voting machines and to the equipment. There is,
all
there's
the
no
rumors,
connection.
all the rumors.
There's a lot of rumors, and that is not correct. And the process used to mail out the ballots and to receive the ballots, I have assisted with, and there's no shenanigans that goes on there either. I mean, it is checked and rechecked.
Commissioner.
And that is, an excellent point, and I'm always appreciative when the commissioners can step in and watch the process so that the public can be told that. But the last 2 years, there's been so much security legislation passed, and we have complied with all of that, where our equipment is stored. We have special cameras that watch the equipment, cameras that watch who enter the room, who leave the room. We have cameras on our ballot boxes. We have cameras up in our front office where during election time a lot of the ballots are stored. So we have been able to comply with all the security measures that have been put into effect.
Chairman Culberson, there's no other questions. I'd like to make a motion to certify the City of Bacer's number 458 mail-in ballot.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Janet.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn as the Board of County Canvassers and convene as the Board of County Commissioners.
Second?
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 We are back as county commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Next, consider a motion to provide funding to the Leavenworth County Treasurer for an audit with Lloyd Group LLC. Morning, Kayla.
Morning, Caleb.
How are you doing? So I've been in office almost 4 months now. I'm getting a lot of requests from my constituents for more transparency in the treasurer's office. It's not uncommon when a new treasurer comes into office that I'm going to call it an audit, although that's not exactly the correct term, just to go through the books, make sure everything is above board, and also to review policies and procedures and make sure that we're doing things exactly correct. I would like to go back to the 2019-2020 timeframe and just completely clear the air that we know that there was no further loss to taxpayer money, and I would also like to go over our policies and procedures and make sure that they are 100% following state statutes and proper accounting practices, so that I can start off knowing that we're where we should be as an office and that everything is above board. This would also provide full disclosure to the public that their tax money is being taken care of exactly as it should be, and that there's no holes anywhere. This is a non-budgeted cost, and I'm asking for $50,000 to $72,000 to accomplish this. Basically, a microscope of the treasurer's office.
I've got a question, if I could.
Yes,
Go ahead. Caleb, good morning, Caleb.
Hello.
I was on this, don't you have, and I haven't looked at your budget, but don't you have motor vehicle funds to handle something like this outside, or another account you could use to obtain what you're trying to do with this audit?
I think we could some of it. I don't know about all of it.
And the second question I'd ask is, I came on when all this was going on, so I understand what you're talking about, and I think the county commissioner's been very good working with the sheriff's department, trying to make sure everything's squared away. Would there be any consideration for, if you've got some of that money, to audit 2023 instead of going all the way back? Because if you got something in 2023, then you could always come back, and this is just me speaking, you could always come back and say, listen, we found some discrepancies here, and I'd like funding now to go continue back into those years that you're talking about. A lot of times when you see, as an OCOP, a lot of times when you see things that are going wrong, we don't know half of what it was because it just don't get caught. It's when it blares itself out like it did 4 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever it was, that you start noticing. So I haven't seen or heard anything lately, but I'm more concerned, not more concerned, I want the people to know that the office has been running right and everything's going good. But I also know this is a lot of money that we're going to have to come up with. And I was wondering if that you would, if with the other county commissioners' blessing, if you'd be willing to look at 2023 and see if you have the funding and provide for this, and if something comes up that you could come back before us again. Just a thought on my 2 cents.
Okay.
Caleb,
Yes,
you had sent an email out that said that you, since you took office, that you reorganized and saved $100,000. So can you use that money?
I think so. Like, I'm working on, as of right now, when I compared last year's payroll to this year's payroll, when we take the payroll plus employee taxes plus benefits, right now I'm about $136,000 less. Now that's not going to be fully realized this year because that wasn't all in place until the end of first quarter. So we're looking at 3/4 of that in savings through the rest of the year. So
that'd be your
that
money
amount.
right there.
Now we are going to have some additional cost in postage and stuff like that. So because of what the motor vehicle department is doing with the new plates and stuff. So I'm still going through the budget and making sure that we have that. But it's not out of the question that we could fund that. I just, to have the cushion to know that I'm not going to go over is important to me.
We need that cushion too here.
Right.
Oh, I agree.
It's not within our budget.
It's not within our budget. Our budget's pretty tight.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The little audit that was done, which was a kind of an abbreviated audit, had a list of recommendations. They said during our examination we have made the below recommendations regarding internal controls of the motor vehicle department, installation of recording devices with views of the cash drawers and safe locations in the motor vehicle department office, limit physical access to the safe to only appropriate personnel, and we recommend that voids are only processed by supervisors and any cash related to the void is left in the safe. In addition, void reports should be reviewed on a weekly basis by the treasurer or supervisor not involved in the void process. So my question is, have those recommendations from that report been implemented?
I haven't read all of that, but I know the cameras were installed. I know I think most of it was. My only question, I have a lot of questions. There's a lot of policies and procedures that go even above and beyond motor vehicle as far as the business side that I can't verify on my own without the help of an auditor.
So, but these three recommendations, you're not sure that that's all been implemented?
The cameras have been installed. What was the other one?
Limit physical access to the safe to only appropriate personnel?
That has not fully been implemented.
Well, that's something that you could do immediately.
Right.
And we recommend that voids are only processed by supervisors and any cash related to the void is left in the safe. In addition, void reports should be reviewed on a weekly basis by the treasurer or supervisor not involved in the void process.
That has
been implemented?
Yes, sir.
So that's my first comment on this, make sure that this was
right,
fully implemented.
Right.
And then I think that for people that are watching this, the reason that's concern for me to go back beyond 2023 is we had a problem in the office as far as and this report said the $10,000 that was stolen, and this report says estimated of 10,000, but additional amounts may have been misappropriated and not detected. So that would right there be the reason that a person would want to have an additional audit.
David, is there a time limit on filing charges on missing money, like an embezzlement or something like this? Is there? I'm trying to think back. Is there a 2-year time statute of limitations on things?
Commissioner, it's been quite a while since I did any criminal law, but I believe the statute of limitations for a theft or embezzlement is approximately 5 years.
Okay.
Is that for an indictment, or is that?
Well, an indictment comes to a grand jury. We generally do these things direct. I can't speak for the county attorney. I would say rather than indictment, use the phrase filing of charges.
Filing of charges. Okay.
Didn't the sheriff's department come in and do kind of an investigation to make such determinations, and they determined that it was turned over, and that they made a determination that there was really no way at that point, because of the things that weren't in place that the auditor made recommendations for, Those have all put into place, and I don't think that there's been any indication or that anything further has transpired. We don't know what happened before that. So I don't understand why we're trying to relitigate and revisit something from 2019 that there was an audit, albeit, focused cursory audit of the Treasurer's Office and books at that point in time, that they made specific recommendations, that the indication right now is that most likely all of those recommendations have been put into place. And so there are cameras there. There's ways of preventing this from happening that weren't in place before. So I can understand that you might want to have an audit of 2023 just for whoever is the treasurer can move forward into the future. But I also believe that should be part of the budget of the treasurer's office, not a part of the budget of the county commissioners. That's just my take on, because the motor vehicle fund is under your purview, and it's something that you should budget for, even for in the future. You can have a line item that has just in case type thing, or for after 4 years or however much time it is,
Right.
that an audit is performed to make that type of review. But that should be part of the treasurer's, because right now the county does not have the funding in place to pay for an audit, and that's just my take. I mean,
I don't know where we would get.
I don't know where we have. I'm just saying we don't have it, and we can't take it from. We can't rob Peter to pay Paul.
Caleb, I totally understand what you're saying. When I first came on, this was ongoing, and
Yes.
there was an issue, and I was disappointed that, in my opinion only, that I never got a report back or how it was followed up. It seemed like it just kind of stopped, and I don't think something like that we should take it. I don't care if it's $100 or $10,000, $20,000. Money, taxpayers' money missing. Someone has to be held accountable.
Absolutely.
The reason I'm looking at this right now is because of the budget. The budget's just, oh my goodness. So that's why I recommended maybe starting there as a starting point, and then see what you come up with your person, and then let's take another look at it. And bottom line is, down the line, when your funds are available, you don't need our permission to do it.
Right.
You can do it on your own. It's just right now that you're kind of tight because of some of the things that have had to happen.
Well, part of my reason for coming before the board was, since I'm fulfilling an unexpired term, I didn't have any say in my current budget.
Sure,
when
I understand
it started,
that.
so there was no
I understand
item put
that.
in there for auditing. Going forward, we can do that, but it wasn't done with my current budget, so I've got what I.
Well, you can
But that isn't
you can
our-
move your.
that's what I'm
But at
saying.
the same time, Kayla, you can move that budget. That's your budget. It's about you move it wherever you feel that you're held accountable for it and responsible for it to citizens. So any way you move your funds, that's why I was looking at the motor vehicle thing. My suggestion is let's get started with 1 year.
Right.
With you paying for this, because I think you've got the money to do it now,
Okay.
and then let's see what happens.
Okay.
And if there's something that comes up, by all means, come to us.
Absolutely,
Let us know.
Kayla.
We can look at
Absolutely.
how we can work with you. But right now, we don't even have the funds in place.
Fix the courthouse.
Is
Get
it
ready to
your
get on land.
recommendation as the treasurer, since you're the guy, you're in the office, and I just want to clarify this, is it your recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners that we authorize an audit of your office because you do not feel comfortable that the finances are in order the way you would like to see, or you would like to have more transparency?
That's correct.
But he's an elected official, so
He doesn't need our blessing.
Yeah.
He can do it.
Well, I think he's coming here as an off-budget request.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
but I think that he himself has the authority as the elected and chosen treasurer, transitional or otherwise. It is within your authority to have this budget conducted. And you don't need our permission to do so. It is your department.
Right.
And I think you're asking for funding, though.
That's the catch.
And the
That's the
funding
catch.
aspect, right. And
So-
the thing that we can't do.
That's why I'm saying start at a
is
small
have it-
piece, and
Yeah.
let's see what you come up with.
Well, the small piece in my mind would be go back to when the theft was.
Well, I don't, but that's already been looked at and determined that was not something that could be taken care of
It
at
was
that point in time. So it's,
That audit was very narrow and focused. There was a lot more
Right,
that wasn't
but-
covered during
We
that
still
audit.
had law enforcement.
You have your audit expert here that
Yes, sir.
could could kind of tell us what the difference is between this audit and the audit that you're recommending.
Sure.
I understand it's a forensic, they were asking for more of a forensic audit.
I'd
I
like to
understand
know the
that.
details of what he's proposing.
This is beyond a forensic audit. He'd be more than welcome to.
And I disagree that the amount is only going to be $50,000 to $75,000. I cannot believe that you could go from 2019 all the way through 2023 and tell me that it's only going to be $50,000. I have just observed an audit taking place with another organization, and it's going to far exceed that. So I'm just
Welcome.
Would you like to hear from Mr. Scott?
Welcome to our world.
I've been in this world for 41 years.
You got me. I've only done it 40.
Could you say your name?
My name is Scott Lloyd, and with the Lloyd Group. I was with Swindle, Jansen, Hawk, and Lloyd for 36 years, and no one wanted to take over the government, so that's how I ended up in the Lloyd Group. So I've got a bunch of young kids that work for me. Mr. Smith, well, there's two Mr. There's two Mr. Smiths. But you'd ask what happened back at the day. I actually was the one that was invited to come up and look at that by the Sheriff's Department. And Ari, I think was his name, but I'm not sure, A-R-I, he was a detective. And the reason I was called in is because the Sheriff's Department did not have the knowledge to understand the terminology of that office and how the office works.
Understandable.
And so, and that's very common across the state of Kansas, or any government, is terminology is a big thing. The difference between what you saw there was more like a agreed upon procedures that they did in 2019, and that's what we proposed. You were asked about the price. I kept the price the same as what I had proposed back when I was asked to do it in 2019 and 20 back then, and look and see where we get to, because I was just thinking that there's those 2 years. Telling Caleb, one of the biggest things here, I've been in our county that has the FBI involved, and this is nothing, I'm not saying fraud, but what I always recommend is that we go in and look at the policy and procedures and try to get it firmed up right now, and make sure where they're at right now is where they should be by statute. And then if we do see some of those things, we go back to that, that 19 and 20. But there's a lot more than what was in that report. One of the things that a county treasurer has the opportunity to do is whatever is left over from the motor vehicle department is technically, by statute, supposed to be transferred to the general fund by June 1st. And I looked through all your budgets. That's what I did. I printed the budgets and the audit report. And I only found 1 year where I could find the number, and it was $105,023. Now, your size of county, that number should be a pretty good size number. And that is so flexible on all counties on how that works.
Okay, can you for us laymen, can you back up a little bit on that?
Yeah.
So the money's supposed to be transferred from that fund.
To the
Slow
general
down
fund.
and explain that to me a little.
So here's what happens. I was called in front of the legislature in 1994 by Representative Humbrick House, I think was his name, Osage County. And it was the Osage County, and then the reason I got pulled in front of there, that's how I made such good friends with all the county treasurers in Kansas, was I was helping them understand that the motor vehicle or special auto law is very loose. And what it means by that is they have the flexibility in that law to be able to, and I'm not an attorney, but to have the flexibility in there, and that's why I was trying to explain to the legislature that they could say, or Caleb could say, oh, that's an administrative expenditure of the office and has nothing to do with the motor vehicle. And so to tell you, I was telling Caleb this, that year, that treasurer transferred $10.16 over to the county general at Osage County. And that's what I went before the legislature for, is trying to get a little more guardrails on there to keep it from being, you should be getting more money than that. And the law doesn't even, they can literally spend it for anything, okay? And it's the way it's explained is administrative duties. Well, the County Treasurers Association had me then help them write the motor vehicle handbook. Updated. And again, right now, it hadn't been updated since 2008, and I just spoke for them in September, and it looks like I'm going to get the chance to update it again with them. And that's the problem. The statute is so wide open, and if the handbook is not followed, then you may not be getting the money that you should be getting from the county treasurer's office, from special auto.
Can I ask a
Yeah.
A couple questions. The Osage reference that you did.
Yeah.
So was there a crime committed in that instance?
Yeah, so this is what happens. I'm a certified fraud examiner, and so we turned them into KBI and went through all the steps. They went down, did an interview, and what she was doing was buying, she bought, this is dating a little bit, but 8 VCRs, a movie camera, all these different things she was buying for personal reasons and getting bonus points, okay? And those bonus points would get her personal things out of her supply company to get other things for prizes, okay? KBI comes down for 2 hours and says, I don't think we really have anything here to do because we got bigger fish to fry than the county treasurer at Osage County.
Yep.
And that's what you see very often in those investigations. Yeah. And I'm not saying there was fraud here. I did come up here twice and meet with the sheriff's department to explain how everything worked. I never got this far because I was told, I thought, that they were turning it over to either the KBI or FBI. And that's the way it was explained to me, but I never did see any. I saw an article in the paper, and that's the extent of it. So that's kind of where that happened. And the other part of the treasurer's office that we always do, I'm one of the only ones left in the state that does this, is reconcile the tax roll, okay, and put it in the audit report. You don't see that very often, okay? And Caleb, I've explained him how what's called materiality works, so this will kind of blow your mind a little bit. So I looked at your financial statement. So your materiality for an auditor, because that was the question you asked, what's the difference between a financial audit, what was done there, and this would be like what's called agreed upon procedures. There would be like 5 steps that we would go through to look at. And so what happens is in 2007 we had to start doing risk assessment of materiality of your financial statement. Long story short, 5% is a starting point. 5% of your gross receipts would be right at $4 million. So if it's not over $4 million in a financial audit, then the risk assessment standards under the auditing standards would not literally look at it unless it was either accumulation of up to $4 million or one item. So that's why there's a difference between Barney, I call them Barney Mills, it used to be Barney Mills, Barney and Associates, and what you saw there that Gordon and Associates did, is that was a lot more microscope. Still, there's some things like we talked that other things might be. That's, I don't know if you want any more, but that's kind of the difference there. $4 million. Probably you're not going to get too much into the weeds there at $4 million.
Okay.
So if you handle it, so let's say the treasurer's office handles it and he can figure it out in his budget. If I guess we could come back if we were short to look at it in the budget process if that became a problem. I mean, it sounds like you have enough flexibility in your budget to move ahead.
And I can sit down and work with him on some hard numbers. It'll take us looking at what a volume of stuff that we need to look at, but we can certainly do that. And then if we come up with, say, I can cover, say, 85% of it, but I have a shortfall, we can come back and discuss. If everybody...
I mean, that's to be talked about. But I personally, as one commissioner, believe you should go back to that time and get this audit done, especially if it's at that price range. And I would like to identify, especially in this report, it says that we don't know if that's all that's been stolen, 10,000. And you will be able to, I hope you'll be able to narrow that down to say the thing has been controlled.
Yeah. So like in the motor vehicle law, his amount based on the number of filings in your motor vehicle office, he's limited to a certain amount of dollar amount, for his salary that he can pull out of a motor vehicle. And then when you start looking at the other motor vehicle salaries, whatever's left over is the amount that you should end up getting. And that's potentially, is what I'm guessing, is there's some money there maybe that would help pay for that, see? And I'm not sure what that is. Going back to one last question, you'd asked about the Osage County Treasurer. So I wrote a 12-page management letter to the county commission on all the things that went on. And then she was up for election. And I thought, okay, this 12-page management letter, it's public information. She got an 80% vote. So it's It's crazy. Yeah.
And I understand that. I just think that as what Commissioner Smith said, that but start off at 2023 to see what that year showed and demonstrated. And if there's any anomaly there, then come back and have a conversation with us. And for just that 1 year, you should have the amount that, should be covered by your budget. If nothing else is there. I think that there should be sufficient funds within your budget to take care of that.
And I'm inclined to agree with Commissioner Cause, and that would give us some time to realize exactly how bad this year's budget is, because, like I said, this is going to be
coming into budget time.
Yeah. So in a couple of months, we'll know better where we're at. But for right now,
we know where we're at right now.
I think so too.
I'm just saying, but we don't even have now to
there's nothing rosy looking about this
commit
upcoming
unless we take it from
You
someplace
are
else. And
correct.
I don't want to take.
Yeah.
No.
So do we have a?
Kayla, my hat off for you coming in and trying to do that.
Right.
Believe me.
No,
Yes,
I'm glad you got a vision to do it.
I
we
think
just don't
that's
have
great,
the money
but
to pay for it.
we're just looking at the other way. And if it wasn't this year or some of the past years we've had, thank you, property tax people up in Topeka. But if it wasn't some of that, we probably could fund a lot more of this. But we're in a tough time.
Yeah.
I'd recommend, like I said, the last year. And
Last year, 23, and if you can afford 22, keep going as long as you got money for it.
I'll absolutely do whatever I can.
Because that's kind of the way we roll up here when it comes to
But at the same time, if you
Right.
find
build
something,
what we can build.
if you find something, when I was the mayor out in Lansing or the city manager, I know you're exactly right what you're talking about law enforcement. I counted the KBI, and sometimes that's not a big fish, so they're not going to fry it. So we have to go out, and then the FBI is busy. So it really comes down, I think, sometimes training our local people to look for it. But that's when we call in experts. If you come back and you see, if you're able to do a year or just 2 years, and there's something there that shows that, you need to bring that back to me, because I'm all about protecting it. And I think these folks are too, protecting the citizens' tax dollars. So don't take this as a no. Just say we're taking a different approach at it right now.
So I have one more question for you. Sorry to interrupt. If you get to the end of I personally believe you should do the proposal you brought in. If you can fund that out of your agency, I think you should do the whole thing, because you're the guy that's in charge. But the second thing is, will you, as part of your audit, help to build controls for him in his office that are even more defined than the 3 points here?
So when I was asked to do the forensic audit of this other county when the FBI came in, I said, no, I don't want to do that. But I do want to build the procedures, internal controls, everything going forward that your office, so this never happens again.
Okay.
And that's what I'd be proactive, not reactive.
That's ultimately the goal.
Yeah, the ultimate goal.
Right.
And we do 23 of the 105 counties ARPA funds. So that was the first thing we said, we're not signing up for you until we have an internal control framework over all this money on how it's going to be operated. And that's kind of what I foresee here is an internal control framework that is very much detailed, so Caleb and his staff can go through and make sure it's been followed. Does that answer?
Yeah, and I'm all on board with that. And I'm on board if you feel you want. I'm more than happy to make a motion that we split the difference and come up with the money, because this needs to be done. But if you think you can do it inside your office right now, then you just let us know.
Let's look at that and start there.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we've
I
gone
was
over.
going to answer her
Yes,
question. How can I do it for this price? So April, who is Barney, and I don't know if she's the one that comes
Yes,
before your audit
April
report.
comes here.
I've known her for years. And so I'm not starting from scratch here. I've already talked to her even back in 1920 about Leavenworth County and what she knows. And so what I would do is, that's why I can, I'm not starting from scratch. I can actually start with her and build and drill down further, because like I said, her materiality would be somewhere around 4, and then I would drill down to get those steps in place. So that helps me, and I'm not starting from scratch.
Okay.
Sounds like we have a plan.
All right.
Thanks, Mr. Scott.
Thanks,
for coming in.
Good seeing you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to consider a motion to approve the application for FY 2025 Adult Comprehensive Plan. Morning, Jamie.
Morning.
Commissioners. Today I come before you just asking for the approval to submit our adult grant application, our adult comp plan. It's our annual grant that we submit every year.
Good job.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yes, it is.
Yep, it was.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the application for the 2025 Adult Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just the Adult Advisory Board met yesterday, and they looked over everything, and they were all in favor of it as well.
Good.
Very good. I'll begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Jamie.
And we had the shortest meeting in the history of the Adult Advisory Board yesterday.
Yeah, I've heard those can go for.
Next, consider a motion to approve a budget line item adjustment for FY 2024 juvenile crime prevention budget. Morning, Jamie.
Morning again. It's almost afternoon. Well, so this second request we're making, we just needed to make some budget adjustments. Anything over $5,000 or anything that's not necessarily originally in the budget, we have to come before and ask permission from the board. This was also approved yesterday earlier this month by the JCAB, and these amounts to ATCO just are their own line items now. So instead of us having to reconcile and get invoices and receipts from them, we just sent them their money, and the state put in writing that whatever happens, they're responsible for being able to illustrate all of how those funds are spent. So it seemed easier for us.
I don't see anything with this either. Motion to approve the budget line item adjustment for FY 2024 juvenile crime prevention budget.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0.
One more time.
Quarterly report.
I did change.
Morning, Jamie.
Morning, Jamie.
I did change my format, so hopefully this made it better. It also makes it easier for me to discuss if y'all have any questions. But I am excited to say that we are going to be fully staffed as of June 12th.
All right.
Ways out, but
We want to make sure that we work well as the city is going through transition, and it's a city employee that we give them ample time to train her replacement.
well, that's good.
Yep.
We're good team players.
Okay. I don't have any questions.
I like the way it reads. Yeah.
Anyone have anything in particular for Jamie while she's here?
No, I don't.
All looks good.
I think so.
Hopefully when we get everybody, some of our numbers will improve. After everything you've been implementing, hopefully we're going to begin to see some demonstration of.
Well, I think, just because I like to take a shot when I get a chance to, I still think it's ridiculous the amount of funding that we get compared to some of the counties that are significantly smaller and have a caseload that is a tenth of ours,
Absolutely.
and they get nearly the same amount of money.
Absolutely.
The state's distribution of funds for community corrections is broke, and it should be based more on the need, which is actual people in the system, versus because you're County 101 of 105, you get the same amount as County 5. It's broke.
It's ridiculous, and the caseloads and the number, that our officers are expected to handle, and and then we have some serious offenders that keep reoffending, and
wouldn't that be something our state legislatures could help with?
It absolutely would be something that I'd like to see them get involved. That would be some actual, real impactful legislation that
could make a difference.
Helps the most at-risk people, really.
Right.
So anyways, I like to take a shot when I have the shot. And Jamie does a great job of getting all the funds that we possibly can get. And we, as a county, have also started participating and putting our own money into this, as we're actually required to by state statute. But it's just, I just think of how much more we could be doing if the funding was appropriated based on need versus just being a number on a map.
Right.
Oh, definitely. But I'm just saying Jamie's
Thank
team
you,
is
Jamie.
doing a great job, and
Yep.
she's cross-training people. I mean, it's what has been done to try to
You'd be really proud of
maximize
me
our
yesterday.
resources.
We've got some good folks.
Yeah, we're getting another $5 million this year from legislation.
Not weird.
Well, the
Not
state.
weird. Yes, the state.
KDOC. And
Can they fix a roof?
well, I wish. It's supposed to go to enhancing our staff and adding more behavioral health services. And currently, we get less than 2% of KDOC's community corrections allocation. But we are the 6th largest county.
Right.
Yeah.
Our population is, according to that spreadsheet, was about 6%. And then the actual population of probationers we have is closer to 5%. Yet, we're getting less than 2%. So I estimated it out for each county. I even put their census from the last counts, and I gave the state 3 different things. And I was like, this is what the allocations are. This is our current cost per unit. This is the population and what you could give us for this. And this is here. And then I even highlighted, if this is my population and I'm getting less than half of that, how do you expect me to reach the goal and have these clients be successful? And here 2 years ago, they sent me an email and they left something in there that said they still owed me 1.8 full-time employees. So I put that in there and sent it back. And then all of the split counties, like the 11th Judicial District and the 30th, they have 2 agencies just like we do with Atchison. And their populations in comparison, when you look at Barber, Kingman, Pratt versus Sumner, it's 50-50. And same with Crawford and Labette versus Cherokee, 50-50. Well, ours is more like 85-15.
Right.
And we're almost 60-40 split for funding. And just in the past 4 years I've been here, we need another officer because of the caseload that's growing as population grows. So I'm definitely pounding the pavement and trying to get
Good.
every penny from the state.
We appreciate you, Jamie.
So
Their theory must be heavily populated counties can raise the money on their own, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Welcome to
Make
county
that-
government. That's the issue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, fixing that 1/105% or percentage would trickle down to lower property taxes. They don't
Heaven
understand
forbid.
how it
It's
works.
interesting because when they divvied up the CARES Act funds, they did it based on population.
Yeah,
Federal
so
government.
Yeah.
they're
When they
familiar
divvied up
with
the
it.
CARES Act funds, it went population. Then it went to the state. What they do, population. It's based on population.
Yeah, they
When we
understand the
then
concept.
redistributed to the cities with the CARES Act fund,
Population.
how'd we do it? We did it based on population. So they'd have the
They
process.
understand the concept.
And
They
they
get
know.
the concept, but in this instance, they don't do it. They do it, again, based on your county 1, your county 105, you get the same.
And it makes no sense.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else?
I don't. Appreciate all you do.
Thank you,
Thank
Jamie.
you.
Thank you. Ready for the executive
Simple and
session?
painless. Simple and painless.
Ready for the executive session?
I think so.
All right, Mr. Chair, I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting for the discussion of subjects involving the legal interest of the county and confidential matters related to pending litigation as justified by KSA 754319B2 for consultation with legal counsel, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, and that this board resume open meeting at 11:45, and present in the executive meeting will be the commissioners, Jeff Culverson, Vicki Cos, Mike Smith, Doug Smith, Mike Stevens, Senior County Counselor Dave Van Perry's, County Counselor Misty Brown, and County Administrator Mark Lawfrey.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 We are in executive session.
Please, Doug, please.
I was going to say,
Please, Doug.
let the record show that the board has returned to regular session at 11:45. No action was taken. Discussion was limited to pending litigation and confidential matters related to it.
We are back.
Well, we're back. Let's see.
So I think that concludes everything on the agenda.
Yep.
Can I go first,
Other
because
than-
I need to
Yeah,
do
go
the
ahead.
board meeting. I have to duck out.
Go ahead.
Okay, let's see. Last week, on behalf of Commissioner Smith, I attended 2 ribbon cuttings, one for the city of Baser's new offices space and City Hall, and it is absolutely beautiful. If you have a chance, go look at it. And then I did the ribbon cutting for the new financial complex, and it has both. And there was 3 separate ribbon cuttings. There was a financial advisory. There was a optometrist, and another financial institution that are all within that little building. And
All
so it was
businesses.
all businesses, and very nice. So 3 new businesses opening up in Baser. And let's see, then participated in Workforce Partnership CEO meeting yesterday, and then the Adult Community Corrections Advisory Board, and then last evening I attended the Supreme Court cases that they heard in Lansing with my grandson, and then this morning the breakfast for the Supreme Court justices, and then I'm heading off now to the Kansas City Area Transit Authority Board meeting.
Don't you love it when people say you just got a part-time job?
Yep, that's it.
I just love it.
Yes.
Thanks,
So,
Steve.
thank you, and I will
Go
see
ahead.
y'all.
Okay, I just got a couple, Jeff.
ahead, Mike.
This morning, the breakfast with Supreme Court judges. I've never been. I've had to testify before years ago on some issues on county road issues and roadways out south, and so it's nice to talk to them one-on-one and hear the thing. I really enjoyed that. Also, last week the conference that Commissioners Doug Smith and I were at, there was a lot of good information, and a lot of people see the same things that we do, especially that last little thing they did, Doug, about putting the dots on where you think the issues are, and it happened to be legislators tremendously with the dots on it. Anyway, I'm sure Doug, and I'll have some things, I think Doug and I can talk more about that next week. That's all I have, Chairman.
Okay. I don't have much this week other than Leavenworth City Commission meeting last night. They were doing the city administrator exodus
Paul's gone.
conversation. That's all I've got. Go ahead, Doug.
All right. Of course, last week was at the Pittsburgh conference.
Yep.
Like I said, we'll report on that next week. And went to the Mid-America Regional Council meeting yesterday. There was some, I'll follow up a little bit on that too next week. But the thing that concerned me that the landfill study showed that Kansas has lots of capacity for landfills, and a lot of Missouri trash is coming to Kansas. So.
Officially,
Yeah. And then, like Mike said, the biggest number one complaint that the counties, that hurts the counties locally, is the legislature.
That was the vote.
It's all over.
Yeah.
And Saturday night, is anybody going to the 4-H?
I won't be.
I don't think I can this year.
You can't, Mike.
Anybody going? Well, I'll try to go.
No, that's Friday night. So,
I
no.
didn't RSVP
I'll
yet.
work it with my wife, but I don't think it's going to work this year.
All right. Well, then I'll get signed up. I've been holding off because I didn't know how
Is
many
it
was going.
can you buy tickets at the door, or do you
I
need to
just think you RSVP before you go. And I haven't done that yet because I didn't know who's all going. And that's about it. I'll have more next week.
Okay.
All right.
Commissioner Stevens.
Well, a lot of stuff going on, but interesting. I was able to attend as a delegate to the 2nd District meeting to elect delegates to the Republican National Convention, and that was an interesting process to go and participate in, and that was at the Capitol. So I did that earlier this week. So, other than that, taxes. That's what people are worried about.
Well, there should be. Go down.
And of course, I've had calls on the road down there where they've done the reroute. Don't think I've answered them like they'd like to have me answer them.
I know, but I just think when people put pay money out of their pocket to do a dust control in front of their house. This is above and beyond. What
Yeah, we need to look
I
at
agree.
that. We need to look at that down the line, yeah. Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
Aye.
Again, voting. Aye. We are adjourned.
I'll cut